All right, so we're diving into something pretty cool today.
Yeah.
How to learn from like the best investors out there, right? I mean, who doesn't want to kind of tap into that?
Yeah, exactly.
So you sent over this really interesting Money Bites thing, John and Emily, right? They were breaking down like the big names, Buffett, Munger, Lynch.
Oh, yeah, those guys.
Exactly. And we want to figure out like, what's the real core stuff we can all actually use?
Right. Yeah, to the heart of it.
Yeah, what are the like principles those guys use to get those insane results?
Absolutely. So I think when you look across all of them, there are some really strong common threads.
Okay.
Like, let's take Buffett, for example. His whole thing is buy great companies at fair prices, and then the kickers hold them forever.
Yeah, that's the hard part, right?
It is because we're so used to, like, instant gratification and everything like that.
Totally.
But he's thinking long game, like collecting, those Pokemon cards or something.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, you're not trying to flip them. You're building a collection of these solid businesses you get.
Nice.
And he's got this famous quote, if you aren't willing to own a stock for 10 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. Like, that's serious commitment, right?
Wow, that's a statement.
It tells you a lot about his mindset.
So that's great in theory, but how do we actually do that? Like, how do I know what a great company even is?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
I mean, I'm not Buffett.
Yeah, none of us are. But what he really stresses is understanding the business itself.
Okay.
So you look at things like their competitive advantage, who's running the show, what are their long-term prospects.
I see.
And Peter Lynch actually had a very similar idea. His big thing was know what you own.
Right.
And he really walked the walk with this one, like he invested in Dunkin' Donuts.
Really?
Yeah, he saw how busy they always were, understood the product.
So, like, simple observation.
Exactly. And for you, it could be any company you interact with regularly. Do you like their product? Do they seem to be doing well?
Interesting. Okay, so that's something I can actually do.
Yeah, and then you have Charlie Munger, who brings a totally different but super valuable perspective.
Okay, this should be good.
He's all about inversion, which basically means flip the script. Instead of just focusing on what will make you money, think about how people lose money.
Okay, so avoid the pitfalls.
Exactly. And then he uses these mental models from all sorts of fields like psychology, history, physics.
Mental models.
Yeah, it's like having a toolkit with different lenses to view the world.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more about that.
So, for example, you're looking at an investment and you use a historical lens. You might ask, have we seen this pattern before? How did it play out?
That's actually really smart.
Right. Or you use a psychological lens and suddenly you understand why everyone's freaking out and selling their stocks and you stay calm because you see the bigger picture.
So it's about staying level-headed.
Exactly. It's about not getting swept up in the hype or panic.
Gotcha. So we've got Buffett's long-term view, Lynch's emphasis on knowing the business,
Yeah.
and Munger's kind of like risk avoidance strategy through broad thinking.
Right. And what ties all those together? Discipline, sticking to your guns even when things get shaky.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
They weren't jumping on every hot trend. They had a plan and stuck to it. And simplicity too, right?
And not overcomplicating things.
Exactly. And then probably the biggest one time, they understood that building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, you hear that a lot, but it's true.
Right. Like Buffett still lives in the same house he bought for $31,500 back in 1958.
Wow, that's commitment.
That's focus. And it's paid off massively for him.
So for our listener, what's like the takeaway here? Like, where do we start?
Start small if you need to. Don't feel like you need to invest thousands right away.
Yeah, baby steps.
Exactly. And then really focus on understanding those companies you're interested in.
Do your homework.
Exactly. And be patient. Play the long game. Consistency is key.
So it's not about being some genius stock picker.
Not at all. It's about making smart choices and sticking with them.
Right, and constantly learning.
Yeah. Buffett is famous for spending like 80% of his day reading. He knows knowledge is power, and that applies to investing too.
So basically, it's about long-term thinking, knowing your investments, not making dumb mistakes, by thinking broadly, and never stop learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Right. So it's not about some magic formula or get-rich-quick scheme.
Definitely not. It's about principles.
Awesome. Well, I think this was super helpful. Thanks for breaking it all down.
You got it. And hey, one last thought for everyone listening. Think about the companies you see doing well in your own life.
Okay.
Are those potential investments you haven't considered? Like, what if you applied these principles to those everyday observations?
That's something to think about for sure. Thanks again.
Anytime.
And everyone listening, keep learning, keep exploring, and as always, happy investing.